I'm not sure if this was Jeff's or something.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
All right, let's go.
All right.
Good morning, everyone. I want to open up this long-term finance planning committee meeting. This is our first meeting. Obviously, this morning, given the remaining issues with payroll, it would be only appropriate for this committee to start with that issue and to talk about that. Yes.
Can you announce who's present
Oh,
for the committee, please?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, the meeting is called to order. I'll say that officially. We've got Counselor Marty Hawk here, Counselor Jeff McKim. We're also joined by representatives of the auditor's office, as well as our county treasurer, Kathy Smith, and council staff and legal. Okay. Yeah, legal is here. Awesome.
Legal.
So as I was saying just a moment ago, with the present issue remaining with payroll, we want to get an update on that, see what's going on with that. The treasurer is here to talk to us about that and can update us on that situation.
Okay, so every employee should have got an email. It took a while to get out, Angie, and Angie sent me the county users way to send everybody out at 7:43. I tried to get an email out starting then. It didn't really go out for a while because we had some technical issues with changing around of usernames and permissions, because I was the auditor and now I'm the treasurer, so it took a while to get that email out. But the email is now out, and here's what it says. County employees, as you may know, direct deposits did not hit your banks this morning. There have been personnel changes in our office, which affects permissions and procedures. The bank is currently working with us to get this money in your account today. I'm very sorry for any inconvenience this has caused, and you can call me directly on my cell phone at 812-360-2338 if you need to speak with me. Yours in service, Kathy Smith. I have had one phone call today from anybody that wasn't working, just working on this one problem with me, and that was from a youth services employee who said hers was a bank account issue going into a different bank account. And so that's the only person I have spoken with. I did speak with our account manager at the bank. They are going to send the money to everyone at 10 o'clock in the morning, which today is payday, still payday. It's not like it's a day late or anything. And hopefully deposits go in before expenses go out. So hopefully it'll hit everyone's bank account still this morning, later this morning, or first thing this afternoon. Any questions?
So payroll is theoretically going out. It's 10:06, so right about now.
It already went out. It already got sent to the bank.
Okay. All right. Councilor McKim.
What does pushing mean? I've heard that payroll.
So we have a double dual authentication system. So the auditor and treasurer are both signers on the account. And then within the treasurer's office, there's a sender and a releaser. And we had lots of changeover in personnel. And in addition to the changeover in personnel, maybe an auditor changing treasurer, then, the treasurer leaving, then maybe an auditor changing to treasurer. This is the first payroll under me. And then of course, I was not auditor anymore. And all those emails and text messages and everything change around, of course. And then Chris Munch, who is the chief deputy auditor, is now the auditor pro tem, but he had to have surgery. He's been in, I don't know if you guys know this, he had to have shoulder surgery. That's harder to say than it should be. And so Bree will sit for caucus this weekend. So we have an auditor. It's just the auditor is recuperating from the surgery, and the auditor we're going to have has not been sworn in yet. And so all these is all permission changes right and left through the bank, especially with all this extra authentication that they do, because a person could come in and reroute your whole bank account, your whole set of direct deposits. And frequently they have fake direct deposits that go through that they have to stop. And so it's happened here several times. But anyway, so there's all this authentication. So you have to there's many components to this. This is not something where you just quickly send a file and it's gone. And so, especially when you have all these changes around, because things have to match things, and permissions have to match authentications, or things won't go through. So when Bree and I actually physically went to the bank yesterday, about what time?
Frisch?
Yeah.
2:30.
something like that, to make absolutely sure that payroll, everything would be fine. We were told that it was. We were there for probably 20 minutes or so. And that they took, they know she's coming on. She'll be a signer on the bank. They're working on doing that. And then when it didn't happen this morning, when Jordan Miller called me at 5:30, he was the first person who called and said, check the direct deposits. And so I did, because, he had been the payroll person, and I don't check my direct deposit, because I don't bank online. I don't ever want my accounts mixed up with county accounts, so I just do my banking offline. I don't know, that sounds crazy, but that's how I do it. And so, so anyway, so nobody could ever say I transferred anything into an account. I don't have that ability to do that. And so anyway, so I called the bank, lady, who is our account representative. And she told me that she thought it was authentication due to where they send this email and you have to release it. And that's what she said on this email. So she and I texted back and forth, and then of course we called, and she said, what we're gonna do is have you guys, set it back up in case something would happen with the setup. At that time, I wasn't sure what the problem was. We're gonna set it out and push it again. And that's exactly what happened. The file was done by Amy correctly and HR. The file was correct. Even the one person with the youth services, her only problem was it was account numbers. It was from one account to a different account. She had changed her direct deposit through HR. And so anyway, here comes the direct deposit. It has nowhere to go. So we just pushed it back it was set up in our bank, pushed it to the banks again at 10 o'clock this morning. And so that's pretty much the whole story. It's going to be pushed at 10, and people should have their money today. And if somebody doesn't have money, if something happens and a person has a bill or something that bounced, I've put my cell phone number on there. This hasn't happened in the 8 years I was treasurer, or the 7.5 years I was auditor, but it did happen when I was chief deputy auditor, because the payroll person at that time put in 6/5 for the direct deposit date, which is June 5th, instead of 5/6, which is what it should have been, and nobody got paid that day. We immediately cut checks, and if it bounced anybody's accounts, I personally paid if I called their bank, asked them to take the, Marty, you might remember this. I called their banks, I asked them to waive the fees. If they did not, I personally made that money out myself, out of my pocket. And I'd be happy to do that again. I don't want anybody to suffer because they didn't get this money first thing this morning. But today is payday, and we do require people to have direct deposits. We want people to have their money today. They have my cell phone. If they have any problem, they can certainly call me. I'll do everything I can to help them out any way that I can.
So the manual, I just want to understand it better because I know I'm going to get questions. So the manual push in the treasurer's office, right? When would that normally have taken place?
I'm not sure, because I'm still new. This is my first payroll.
Okay.
I'm still figuring it all out.
Okay.
Because it has changed since I was treasurer before.
Okay.
So I'm still working this out. And like I said, we didn't just lose a treasurer, but we lost our banker too. We lost our banker.
Can you clarify?
Our banker went to work for Jessica at the city. We lost him on Monday.
You mean?
Oh, okay. I was saying your banker. I think of it.
Our
somebody who
banker
works for
here.
the bank.
We
Okay.
only have two employees. We have a general ledger employee and a banker.
Gotcha.
And the banker has the permission to set all this up.
Okay.
So he went to work for Jessica starting on Monday. So, so this is not only is it my first time, but this is my first time without the banker who did it for Jessica for a long period of time. So, but we are doing everything humanly possible to see that everybody gets their money. I don't want anybody to suffer.
Right.
I'll be happy to help anyone. All they have to do is call me.
And we don't either. That's why we're asking this, so
Yes.
we understand it. Any other questions from the two of you for now? Because I feel like I've asked a lot.
I would like to have it transcribed for us and send it to us right away so that we have questions.
Yeah.
Sure.
We know that we're
Absolutely.
saying what the auditor said and not
Yeah,
something.
and Bree, I don't know if Bree has anything else to add. It's just a lot. She's seeing how hard it is to
Yeah,
change
no,
all these accounts.
It is a lot, and I'm really appreciative because, Kathy was on this immediately, proactively, making sure that everyone would get paid today. I know that the first plan was to get payroll sent out Monday. Kathy said, no, that's unacceptable.
Yes.
She, got back and made sure that, she did whatever she could with the bank to make it happen today. which is what should happen, and that's what she did. So I'm really thankful for that. I, for one, do need the money today, so that's great.
Okay, I do have a question. What, we don't have a guarantee right now that the banks are going to be able to get this. Do I understand?
Well, the Fed's rules are if it's in there by noon, it's deposited that day. Deposits go in before, so our bank, which is First Financial, has it all set up. Matter of fact, this is maybe them calling. I'm not sure, or this could be HR calling me. But anyway, our bank is sending it to every other bank today for today's date. Just like if I wired you money, I wired it before noon, you would get it today. So our bank is doing that at 10 o'clock,
At 10.
at 10 a.m. this morning.
Okay.
I did not put that in the email.
How are we gonna know for sure that they have done that?
They're gonna call me back at 10:01 and make sure that it went and every bank
Okay,
accepted it.
Well,
Well, maybe that was them. I just,
If you need to, we'll let you do that. If you.
but
want-
is there any other questions? Because like I said, I'm working on this. I've done everything
Yeah.
humanly possible to get this money out.
Absolutely.
You know, I'm not only I'm a grandmother
That's-
and a mother
we got you.
and I don't want anybody to suffer. I want to do
That's-
everything I
we're
can to
fine.
make it right.
If you need to do that.
And everybody's been gracious. HR's been gracious. You know, Adam that left was gracious in helping. No, there was nobody who did anything to try to trip anyone up. This is 100% legit and sweet. And she's a good friend. We're all sweet. We're all trying to get this money out today to people.
Okay. All
So
right.
there's just, I don't know what else to say. You got
Okay.
anything to add?
There's been a nice proactive team effort. Everybody was helping each other, so that's
Awesome. We'll let you do that. We'll move on with our agenda. And if there's anything else you need to come back and say, feel free to do it. We'll keep working with our
Okay.
items here.
Thank you
All
very
right,
much.
Thank you for
And
coming.
you'll let us know if they've been notified. back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that could be it, but I'm gonna go sleep because I got
Thanks.
7.1 minutes.
Thank you very much.
I don't think I could read that, sorry.
Awesome.
I didn't have-
One item that's on my mind that I just want to say before we jump into this regular meeting of order, I think that on this process, and I'll just note this for auditors folks, and legal and our staff and just the council, and we can pass this on to the treasurers when in calmer times. I do think that having this as a written protocol that would pass on to different office holders in vacancy situations wouldn't be the worst thing, because we know that with term limits, with changes in personnel and a robust labor economy, we're going to always have stuff like this. Shoot, it could be our office. So I just think that might help down the road. But with that, I think we're going to go ahead and move on with our agenda. I know we'll note to employees on behalf of the council, we will do whatever we need to do to make this right and be helpful to our folks, because we know that when pay is expected and needed. And so we recognize that fully. I'm going to ask, now that we've kind of done that, we have an agenda before us that was the kind of presented agenda. Can we do an adoption of that agenda for our records?
Move we adopt the agenda as published.
All right, do we have a second?
She's
Oh,
second.
thank you very much. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, any opposed? Awesome. So we've adopted our agenda, and our first item is just some committee organization items. And one thing I'll note is I'm kind of running the meeting, but I'm not sure I have to. Did our resolution call for me to be the chair?
No, we weren't sure how we were going to process, so we figured you guys would work that out during this meeting.
Yeah. So is there either one of the other council members here that really feels a calling on this? Because I won't object to not running a meeting right now. Or I can, doesn't matter.
I think if you're here, you should.
Okay, I just want to,
And, you shouldn't have to miss a family vacation to come run a meeting either,
well, I tried.
All right, move we nominate Trent Deckard as the chair, as the chair of the committee.
There's been a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, any opposed? We're good. I didn't even vote. Yes. All right. So here's the other regular things. We need to adopt a committee attendance policy. Michelle, I think you've got something on that.
Yes, I do. This is something that was put into place, right when COVID was going on. And this is to, allow members to attend virtually. And so this is something that we have to have approved for each committee that does public meetings. And then that way, we have it on file and in case somebody ever asks. So we've got this. And
Okay.
so we just need you to sign off on it as a committee.
Move we adopt the electronic attendance policy.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, do I need to take public comment on this?
You don't need to take public comment on,
No.
on anything.
Okay,
Not required.
okay, all right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Awesome. Motion is carried. Committee schedule. We need to discuss this. This will be a little bit more difficult. How often do we want to meet? And Michelle, do you have a proposal on this or do we need to do that?
Maybe, maybe another meeting in a couple weeks, if that's the way you wanted to go, so that we can work with maybe, our third party
Yeah.
person to come in. But then after that, I didn't know if you wanted to go ahead and set up like a regular monthly meeting, or if you were just, like how often, I didn't know what your plans were as a committee, how often you really wanted to meet. So I was thinking maybe, like next, let's see, that would be, I'm trying to get this pop up. So again, maybe have a meeting on the 23rd at this time, or, whatever, maybe in the next couple weeks.
Unfortunately, I will say I cannot make it on the 23rd. Normally Fridays are great for me. I'm at a Centerstone event up in Indianapolis all day on that Friday.
It sounds like there's something else going on the 23rd and thing. Could we put it down as needed or as called?
Or-
To any two members of the committee could call a meeting and put, unless we're expecting to have, some people from another
Mhm.
group that has to be here, but if we want to have a meeting, I mean,
Well, I mean, I agree. The next meeting should be scheduled so that we could have somebody from, assuming the contract
Right.
passes,
right,
somebody from FSG.
right, then we have to really schedule that.
Could we do it? How about March 1st for the FSG meeting? Would that work for the two of you?
That would work for me if they're available.
What day is?
March fir-
Oh, Friday, March 1st, 10 a.m., same time?
That works for me.
Right.
Yeah.
We usually have a 2 o'clock on Friday and sometimes, and then,
Sure. And I teach at 1:15 on Friday, so if we're going then, we'll be in
So
trouble.
we just schedule this and then the rest as needed.
Yeah,
Okay.
that sounds perfect.
Right, that's cool.
All right.
March 1st is the next one.
Yes.
And FSG will ask them if they can.
I'll ask if they can, be here.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Next on our item, or agenda is a committee webpage, which would be similar, I assume, to other committees of the council.
Right, we currently have a webpage for Sophia Travis. We also have a webpage for food and beverage, and we also have a webpage for budget information. What we like to do is, so information doesn't kind of get mixed in or lost with council stuff, we have links so that, you can have your own long-term committee webpage, and then that way minutes as well as agendas and information pertaining can be found more easily via that webpage.
Makes
So,
sense to me.
Will the connection be for the YouTube? Is this all going to be YouTube? Like
Like cats.
yeah, when I went to Cats trying to watch the PAC meeting, then it actually came up as YouTube. So if somebody from the public wanted to watch this, that's how.
The only way they'll be able to watch it is if they come to the event calendar and they can click the link there. Cats is not recording these movies because it's not covered under what Cats.
But you said that I didn't know they did pack under YouTube. Is that?
Well, that's how I found it.
It's probably archived there from cats, I would
Is
say.
that how?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because I know council meetings are.
Were they on pack?
You start
I mean,
opening, you'll.
Do cats
Yes.
record pack?
yeah, they record PAC and they record council, so.
If you do a
Oh,
search
so
of
they
your
might
name in
find
YouTube,
it.
you'll see a lot of.
But there will be a link from
Yes.
the county webpage so somebody can watch it.
Yeah, they can watch it via the
Okay.
Teams links.
All
Yeah,
right.
there's always a link.
As long as there's a way for
Yeah,
anybody to watch it.
That's awesome.
so we just wanted to make sure it was okay to move forward with creating a web page.
Well, if you do that, then if you can't do the link, you can perhaps even just tell an individual how they can get to the link.
Correct, yes.
Okay, so it sounds like we're.
If there's
good
no
on that.
objections, we'll move forward with,
Alright,
that way we can get information out to the public, so.
right. So on our fourth item is, long-term financial planning discussion, one thing I just want to say, and this is particularly for anyone looking at what we're doing or wondering, what are we doing? This committee really sprang from the need for this council and a subset of the council, including these members, to look harder at long-term issues that affect the county financially. I mean, we opened this morning with a very short-term thing. That actually is opposite of what this committee does, but it was exceedingly appropriate for the time. Long-term, what do we need to do to put the county in the best footing for its financial well-being? And as I've noted in a couple other meetings, past councils, including Councilor Hawk and Councilor McKim, past councils have done an extraordinary job at preparing us financially for what we've just been through in the last few years with a pandemic and with projects that have called for dollars that were a little bit above and beyond. We know that not all of our neighbors have that convenience. What we don't want to do is lose that. We also want to be able to respond to the needs of our services for county residents and for our employees. And so to do that, this committee is looking not at budget, but long-term. What are we doing working with FSG? And that takes us into item number 4. We have a proposed resolution that I believe the council is going to review Tuesday, correct?
Vote on, right?
And vote on.
It's a voting. Mhm.
And I wanted to open that up for discussion. I don't know how much counselors have been able to look at that or have thoughts on that, but we want to make sure the FSG resolution covers items that we need it to get what we all need. So I'll just stop talking there and see what others think.
And Courtney's currently printing copies of the contract, so you guys can have
Yeah,
it.
I mean, I've got it. in
Yeah.
front of me. And I do have a couple of questions, I guess.
Right.
Sure.
I haven't seen the contract, but I have questions.
I guess my first question, there's kind of a list of budget and other related meetings. And under February, it says meet to review year-end results and start of year expectations. I guess, does that imply that it's only one meeting? Because I guess the way I thought things, this would work best is once we get this in progress and process and we get them all the data, that a representative would come and speak with us in the committee first, and then, get stuff fleshed out and then present to the whole council. So there might be 2 meetings. And if they want to show virtually, that's
Which
fine, too.
item are you on?
Sorry, this is attendance at meetings, at budget meetings.
My understanding, and I've been in contact with, his name is Charlie Joyce, was that the schedule that you're referring to is what they have used with other counties. We've never really gone with that process. And so they recommend, meeting in February. So my understanding was, yes, it would be like a meeting with you guys to do that, and then have another meeting with the entire
With the
council.
Okay, I just want to make sure that would be incorporated into the scope somehow.
Yeah.
And in our case, it's not gonna be February, it's gonna be March 1st.
Right. And then after that, we would set up that calendar of when do you want them to come back, but that would be for the entire council. So, to give you updates and this kind of thing. So that was my understanding of what this consulting, meeting thing was. So
Okay.
you guys say, at this March, this is what we want, and then moving forward, the entire council will then be included in that kind of information.
That's only,
Mhm.
May I make a quick note regarding the schedule? For the auditor's office and for preparation of the, prior year, financials and so forth, the annual financial report is due March 1 every year. So it would be best, we'd have everything prepared, anything they could possibly want as far as end of year information after that. Obviously it's available, but we don't roll forward into the new year and kind of close out the prior year before that date, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
So the information is more easily accessible if we wait just until that deadline.
Okay.
And then,
Just a thought.
and they also mentioned on here September, but I would like to see that more as in maybe end of August. Kind of meeting right before you guys go into the September budget work session.
well, can we say just say something like this is a notional schedule and the actual days and months may vary depending on
Yeah,
council needs. We
Yeah.
can incorporate something like that.
Here's what it looks like to me. If you recall, I did voice my concern that we were paying them for information. We got it after the fact, after we had made decisions and so forth. And then when he actually did show up for a meeting, and, you know, I'm not faulting him, that's when we scheduled it. It was like, oh, well, day late, dollar short. And it was scheduled like toward the end of the meeting, and everybody was oh ho and didn't even ask questions. And he was sitting there saying, ask me questions. I'm here to serve. And I don't know whether it was that people were too tired to ask, maybe they didn't want to ask a question, because sometimes you look silly if you're asking a question that maybe everybody thinks you should know. So it
I think I was going.
it might be really good to have him where it is truly a work session, where people feel comfortable to ask questions and get everything understood.
But I think also part of that is having
Yeah,
this committee
Yes.
with the idea that we have a little more time,
Right.
and we're not, you know,
Right.
already in a 3-hour meeting where, you know.
Right,
everybody's-
Well, and what-
I've got that. The other thing I'm seeing here when I saw this to begin with, it really looks as if this is really budgetary, even year by year. However, I know whenever you're looking at long-term plans, you've got to figure out where you are now and where your starting point is. And then you look at what your needs are going to be that we know that we're going to have, like additional costs for the jail, et cetera. And then you throw that into where you are presently and looking at all the things within the frozen levy. And then you also have to look at what happened at the state that might change that. So it makes it real difficult to say we're not allowed to speak of the more recent budgets at this meeting, simply because you have to have a starting point.
Well, when did we say we weren't allowed to mention?
Well, I'm just going by what, I think Molly put I'm sorry, I guess I should call you something. Put together what our committee was supposed to do, and it was definitely not a budget committee, which makes it difficult to start out with. So I'm hoping that in this meeting, or that we are allowed to speak of more recent budgets and move forward with long-term as well.
In the resolution, there is a sentence that says that.
I cannot hear you.
In the resolution, it does say, there's a sentence that says the committee's task should not be broadly construed to encompass any discussion of county finances and budgets. And I put that sentence in there because the three of you will need to talk about budgets, but, or two of you could talk about budgets, but we weren't trying to make it so that any financial conversation you could have as a counselor was encompassed by this committee.
Right,
To trigger.
so we
an
wouldn't be
open
allowed to
forum.
talk, right?
And
I
I
get
get
that. I
that,
think
I
that
really
makes
do,
sense.
so whatever.
one thing is that
But-
this, and I'll say, in sort of in defense of some of this, is that the state has very good and strong laws on how we do our business before the public. This is this committee's attempt to talk about the long-term efforts that we should be talking about as accurately as we can. And I think if we keep to that spirit and honor the law, and this is all right now being recorded and visible, and anybody can come in here and sit with us, I think we generally will be okay. The other thing I wanted to say, to kind of speak to what Councilor Hawk was saying about that FSG meeting, different counselors are going to always interact with agenda items in different ways. We all have different styles. It's how people are chosen and not chosen for these positions. But I think incorporating this discussion with FSG earlier in the year, having that part of the culture of both this committee and the council a little bit more longer term, and President Wiltz always talked about this, I think that will do that, so that interaction's a little bit stronger during meetings like that. The worst thing I think you can ever do is take something and throw it out into an open meeting where people are doing it for the first time because they're never going to get to a decision, particularly if it's a hard question. I think this will help us do that on those long-term issues. It's a good point.
So I want to move back to the contract, and in particular, I want to make sure I'm understanding something that Bree said. So you're saying that okay, so one of the goal of the first meeting with FSG is to review the 2023 actuals.
Mhm.
And you're saying that we won't even have those until March 1st?
Well, I can definitely pull that information, but it would be kind of redundant because I'm working on all of that reporting now. I mean, I can always pull that information. It's
Okay.
just the preparation of the annual financial report concludes March 1. That's the due date. So,
Okay, so I guess I'm in that case, the meeting on March 1st doesn't make sense. And we also don't know, we need to know how long FSG is gonna take to digest it and to make,
okay. I mean, it just depends specifically what you want. You have, your revenue reports, you have the end of year December revenue report. I mean, it just depends specifically what you want with that.
Well, okay.
I don't have the encumbrance report done for you yet. I just have more pressing things and, we just kind of finished some carry forwards and encumbrances with bonds recently. There's always adjustments going on, even now, you wouldn't believe it, for 2023, as we make corrections and so forth.
Sure. No, I guess this is not an accounting meeting. And so I'm not sure that any of those adjustments are really material to the long-term.
They wouldn't be material.
So
but-
if we already have the revenue and the
Yeah.
expenditures, then I'd rather keep with the schedule and, so there'll be some adjustments, but I don't think, if we're talking about 4-year planning,
Yeah.
those adjustments are just, accounting stuff in the
Yeah,
background.
absolutely. Just wanted to
So,
share.
Okay,
you know,
all right, I just want to
our-
make sure we're
Well,
on the right
and
track.
if FSG is not just gonna have these numbers made up out of whole cloth, they've got to get the numbers from the auditor.
Right,
So,
but she's saying they already have the expenditures and the revenues, which is
right,
really
so,
what we care
but
about.
we also don't want to have, well, she's trying to make deadlines, also trying to be working with FSG.
As long as you
trying to
don't want like a huge cumbersome report, I mean, we can pull financials from Lao anytime and that's
Right.
easy. you
That's,
know?
yeah, that's what I'm
So
thinking.
I appreciate that very much.
So,
Well, I mean, we just, we have to look at personnel. And by the way, when we get through doing that, I want to go
we can
back
all-
up to the
yeah.
committee organization. Because I wanted to put a motion in place that we include the auditor, whoever that auditor might be. To be like an ex officio member of this committee or something of the sort, so that they don't have to be here, but they certainly would be helpful if they were here.
Yeah.
And they could help advise us as we move along.
Yeah.
And I think that's essential that we do that.
Yeah,
So,
and we kind of have that today, but if we want to.
but it needs to be,
Let's do it. Let's hear a motion if you've got one.
right. So do you want me to wait
Yeah.
until we're through looking at this contract?
Well, what other changes to the contract? Did you have an item to note on this?
Not on the contract.
Okay.
so I do have another contract question. I wonder if we don't want to add to the scope to update, potential impacts of annexation
Update one.
and impacts of annexation.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
not necessarily the whole, all the units like they did before, not the big thing, just on the count, on our budgets, on the numbers they're doing, just to note the impacts of the impending.
Right, and we only talk about that every week.
That was the only, and then the other question I had is there any, I know at one point Jeff Cockrell talked to us about needing a fund balance policy and possibly something else for bonds. Is that part of this scope or part of another scope?
It's not in this scope, but it's kind of the second part of that number 4 discussion on the agenda, which is proposed resolutions that FSG would ask the council to consider. And I think it's makes sense for this committee to consider it first and then the whole council. So FSG sent me some resolutions from Hancock County, I think, for you guys to look at, but basically they would like for you to consider passing 2 resolutions. The first one creates a target cash balance in all the funds, and this will help with bond ratings. And then the second, they would like to see if you would consider passing a debt management policy. So they provided Hancock counties for consideration. I was gonna give them to you today, and then we could talk about it in a future meeting.
Okay,
Come on, pass me.
great. Okay, yeah, I knew that there was something.
And we do have benchmarks that we've established a long time ago for fund balances.
Yes, we use those as part of the budgeting.
Yeah, him and Bree know those. I guess you still know those, right? Okay.
Mhm.
Everything's good.
Anything else on the contract? Because this will help the council with the third consideration of that. Because they're gonna look at us.
Yeah, no, I mean, those were,
I agree wholeheartedly on the annexation though, and speaking specifically, it was during an FSG discussion with the council that the impact of annexation, I felt like was the clearest I've seen it in the sea of discussion in this community. And I think that kind of thing is precisely why they are helpful to us.
I have a question for Molly. Did FSG have a suggestion as like when they would like these resolutions to be done? So it's not something we have to do like in a rush. I mean, we can,
They didn't convey a timeline, but I think that might be one thing we can discuss with them when they're first here.
I didn't know if they needed to have them like by a certain date in order to affect, you know,
I can
future
check with
things. Okay.
FSG, but they didn't mention any timeline.
I will say that we didn't advance the cause or the not cause of annexation yesterday because the judge was recused herself, so we didn't get any steps closer.
I can't hear what you're saying.
I said, we didn't get any
She-
steps closer to annexation resolution yesterday because the judge
Oh, yeah,
recused
right,
herself. Did
right,
you know
right.
about that?
Yeah.
Okay. And so right now, I can't even, well, when I was auditor, Bree won't be able to make a projection of what the impact will be because we don't have finite attributes to calculate on.
Well, I mean, we certainly know all those miscellaneous revenues that we count
Absolutely.
on coming out of the state. That's not something that we make up. We are told by the state. And I think many times we don't recognize all of those miscellaneous revenues is going to be split up. That annexation means that the city will get more of those miscellaneous revenues than, you know, the
As things move
Well,
around,
it
yes.
is not just property tax. It is not just income tax, but the income tax will be a huge change.
well, so in any case, yeah, I just think if we, that's the one thing I would like to actually see added to the scope of this,
Right.
if possible, before the council or
and-
before the council meeting.
The other thing is the health claims. We've been advised over and over again to different groups that we listen to that if you're self-insured, as we are, that you might see a rather large hit come 2025 because of the delay of people really taking care of themselves during the whole COVID thing and whatever. And so will our spin down look like something we will have to beef back up, or how healthy is that fund? We don't discuss that often,
Mhm.
but it seems like it's something that it has hit us before and it's like, oh no. Because it only takes one or two major claims and that can take you right down to your reserves are gone. So I'd like an update on that. We ought to be able to look at that pretty quickly.
Marty, I will tell you that part of miscellaneous revenue is interest. And I will make a public report card on interest every month and give it to Bree to be
Right.
part of her package.
Right, and the reduction of our income coming in from income tax will mean less cash setting there in the balances to draw the interest. So we know with the edit tax, with that annexation, they tie that to population, and their population will be hugely affected because they'll tie that, their population will be greater if that annexation is successful. They will draw in more of the edit tax, and that is where we had looked to long-term for covering the jail bond. Now, that is what was discussed when that first happened. Maybe there's other thoughts on that now, and that's something this committee probably will be talking about. But that's coming right back to annexation.
So, first of all, could we get copies of these electronically? That'd be great. And so is the idea then that at our March 1st meeting, we'll have essentially Monroe County-ized versions of these for discussion and consideration?
Yes.
Okay.
Awesome. One note before we leave the,
And just to follow up on that. So for the fund balance resolution, we should, I think, members of the committee should be sending to Molly and Kim any numbers we'd like to see in the draft resolution, because these are not, our yeah,
Right.
these are
Yeah,
Camden
what
counties.
fund balance?
So if you have opinion,
And planning on March 1st, if you want, we can just fill in the numbers bit of it then, whatever works best. for
okay,
everybody.
we'll just have to make sure we get some history on
Mhm.
these funds, and I mean, we can always pull up the old 4Bs from Gateway and
Yep.
figure out what we think the right answer is.
And one item, since we have discussed annexation and we are considering long-term impact, I think it always is fair to say that if we were not in the current discussion with the current annexation process with the city as it presently is configured, if we were not in that, we would not be looking at long-term impacts. Any change to that decision by the city in any form that would take, and I don't know what form that would take, but wiser minds would, that would greatly reduce the impact for us and impact on services and or what the county does. And I just think that that's always fair to point out in a city and county collaborative spirit, that change, that a reversal, whatever you want to call it, would be noted and needed.
And we know that in the past, when we looked at it, when this was first brought up and the numbers were put together, we saw it looked to be a reduction in revenue from our property tax having to do with the circuit breaker. Well, what's happened in the meantime? Clearly, what's happened is that everybody saw that the market value of their home had jumped through the roof. So that circuit breaker is not going to hit them to assist that property owner in this high increase in taxes that will hit when the city hits that. Well, that might mean less circuit breaker loss for the county, but it certainly means more taxes paid by the individual, not because they've done anything any different, just all of a sudden their property is worth more. And so we have to be always cognizant of the fact that we represent the people who through the annexation process, and because at the same time their assessed value jumped, especially these entry-level homes jumped so high that their taxes are not really going to go up. And they're at least likely able to pay the additional taxes. And I hope that we look at this, not just as what the county needs for money to operate, but also for that individual who's actually paying for all these services as something that they actually need. Every time we spend $1, we have to think about those folks.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Anything else on this proposed resolution? It sounds like we've got the spirit of what we want here. Michelle, you have what you need, right?
Yes.
And Ms. Turn-King, you're good?
Yes.
Awesome, thank you. So I think that is kind of settled. We don't need to vote on that, right? Because we're just proposing. Awesome. Well, that's item 4 for us.
Good.
Others. Yeah.
Wait, I have another one.
Another one.
Sorry.
Sure.
Okay, when they're talking about long-term debt, it says both general obligation and lease. And if we're tying, or whatever, but if we're tying some of our debt obligation to the edit tax, that would not be a general obligation bond, it would be a tax anticipation bond.
It would be a revenue.
It's a revenue bond. So, I mean, should we put that in there?
Well, possible. I mean, we just got this. This is Hancock County, so.
Yeah, that's
Right,
Gateway.
again, I'm
We need to personalize
Yeah.
that.
I'm just going over that simply because we know, at least I think I know, sometimes you think you know something you don't. That if it's property tax and debt, then the taxpayer can come forward with a remonstrance or something. And sometimes it actually has to go on, it used to be, it actually had to go on a public question if it went over a certain dollar amount. But if I understand it correctly, that's not the case if it's income tax. So it does not, if you pass a rather large bond over the amount that you could with property tax and you're doing it with revenue, anticipated revenue, it's not going to go on that, on your vote, when you get out to vote on your ballot, it's not going to be on there, whether or not you should approve that bond. So we need to take that into consideration.
Sure. Anything else on the resolution or the language in the resolution?
Or
It-
the FSG contract.
Yeah, it's really not written as a resolution. It's written just as.
Yeah,
It's an agree, yeah, it's an agreement, yeah.
And then the idea is we would pass it on Tuesday or we'll consider on Tuesday.
Considering.
And then the commissioners would hear it when, the next day or the,
No,
The next commissioners meeting is the 21st.
oh, right, that's.
Or is
Canceled.
canceled.
and I think on the changes that we've noted here on the mock-up, I think that what we can tell the council is we've looked at this, made some changes. We're open to other suggestions they might have. But I think they'll look for strong guidance from us that we're moving this along and molding that into something that they could consider.
And I think the only substantive change is just to include a mention of the impact of annexation.
Yes.
Would be what.
Yeah,
after that.
to include,
Yeah.
mention of that.
And so is this going to be something in here, and maybe it's in here and I just don't see it. We've seen that every year, thankfulness, Jeff McKim has saved this county over and over and over again because he prepares, what we all need to have, and it's like for the annual, but it also is just a long term, all of the different funds within the frozen levy. We need to make certain that other. And see, I'll start
Well-
crying on this one, that somebody else knows firsthand how to do that without assistance from Jeff.
That
to
is
do that.
true. That is one thing we don't get by just looking at the 4Bs one-on-one. Because you have to be able to balance out I think it's 6 funds.
And do I know how to do it?
Yes.
I do not know how to put I don't know how to put it together in the
Excel.
forms. I can look at it and go, no, here, here, and here. Now, I have done that over and over again. But it shouldn't be up to Jeff.
I mean,
Nor any other council member.
I think that the council office has that. You have that
Yeah.
capability,
Yeah.
right? I mean, you understand
You
what.
do understand that it needs to be also
Yeah,
the
and-
auditor's office.
I'm willing
because
to, him and I work well together.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Yeah.
I know you.
It will
Yeah,
not
and I-
always be, Ken.
So Jeff, what other magic do you do besides just put the different 4Bs in a spreadsheet?
I just pick out the ones that I think matter as far as council
But that's
discussion.
opinion, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Maybe you.
I don't know how to
could sell
emulate
us your
opinion.
Existing.
Well, I mean, it's where decisions need to be made. I mean, do we really need to make decisions onto the probation
You got it,
grants?
too,
No. It's where it's where money is fungible, basically.
One thing that
That's
I think
where-
is important, that is minimal, but I do think is important, is minimum, minimum salary for part-time people. And maybe even have some kind of resolution where it increases at the same percentage, something each year as the employee, like say it's $15, say it's $14. That affects, when you go to write your information that you send to the auditor's office and the account's office, that makes your budget. If you don't know if that's gonna change, you can't add that in. But if we said our minimum, our minimum part-time pay is $14 or $15 an hour, and it increases 2% a year, or it's because you don't know whether a person's being paid on that part-time line an exorbitant amount of money because they're a specialty, or just the minimum $14 an hour. Does that make any sense? So I think maybe a good method of how to pay part-time people would also help.
I guess the only thing I had to think about that I have a question about is we've usually given department heads pretty broad discretion on hourly, on part-time hourly, that we just set a range and we kind of let the.
Right, you, as the council set a minimum, that
And a
cannot
max.
pay below $14. And so they have a range to go from 14 and above. And almost all of the departments have done that. So they have a range that they budget for people. So
And basically what I'm saying is across the county, if one person gives everybody 50 cents raise and the people sitting right next to them work for a different department and didn't get it kind of creates some issue. So that's something you might want to think about. I'm not saying you should do it. I'm saying you might want to think about it.
I think we've
that's
discussed this many
budgeting.
times in the past, that it needs to be tied to something, because if you give a department head, and I'm not sure this is long range planning, but perhaps it is. If you give them a range from $20 an hour to $40 an hour, boy, they're gonna love all their employees. There's nothing to stop from them from giving someone who is actually a comment, a part-time, doing comment work, doing part-time. It could be their best friend, it could be their neighbor, it could be, for whatever reason, paying them to be an attorney.
Is there a cap on the range?
No, that's totally up to,
Well, but we set a cap. I mean, the salary ordinance has a range, doesn't it?
for
Different
part-time.
department.
Yeah.
No, it's per department. They set their own rate.
Well, right, that's what I mean. We do have a cap. I mean, our salary ordinance has a minimum and maximum, doesn't it?
No, not on part-time
That's
hours.
what I know. What
That's
do you
what
think I've
I
been
know.
arguing about all this time?
We've always had a range. Really?
No,
It is
each
a
department
range.
has their own different range. I mean, we have a,
Range though.
right,
Yeah.
they
It's
have-
a cap per department then in the
Yeah.
salary ordinance.
yeah.
No,
But it has a maximum, does it not?
Oh, yes, but I mean, per department.
Well,
they can-
right,
yeah,
okay, that's
yeah,
what I'm saying.
yeah.
There's a range.
Yeah,
It's not,
they
they can't pay them $100,000.
No, they set their, they can't go here, but they can set the cap at whatever they want, but it's in the salary ordinance what they
And
want.
don't get me
Right.
wrong, I'm not talking about the discrete number. I'm talking about the percent increase each year.
I'm talking
Like,
about
are we
a person
talking-
sitting here doing comment work and a person in a different department doing part-time
Well-
comment work. And one department head is paying them more per hour than the other one, quite a
What-
bit more. And I'm just saying this is what could happen. I'm not
I
saying.
want us to be careful on this one, because I think something like this with part-time and salaries would need to be an agenda item on a committee that doesn't really have this yet under our jurisdiction. And I would want to make sure that all department heads could fairly contribute to and know about this discussion. I'm not sure we're at that.
There's gonna be a lot of things like this that we're gonna be throwing out in the department heads, and I'm glad we're doing this publicly, so the
Yeah.
department heads can come back and say, oh, but do you know about so and so?
And they will
They're
soon.
the
On
experts.
this discussion, they will soon, I suspect. So I think item 4, the resolution or the
Mhm.
contract, I think we're good there. One thing is, Counselor Hawk, you had mentioned the ex officios. Do you want to go ahead and make that motion now?
Right.
If I may, Marty, or Counselor Hawk, sorry, I drafted possible language for consideration.
Right, I did discuss this with a council attorney to make certain that we were doing this appropriately, because I don't want the auditor to feel that she has to be here to make. But I know that, or whoever it is an integral part of what we're doing.
And before it was ex officio, but the committee kind of fell apart, right?
Do you have something that you want to display on the screen so everybody can see it?
I could
Share.
I'm not in the team meetings, but I can.
Oh, you're not?
send it to you.
Not just that she's welcome to be here, but that she is needed.
Send it
be
to
here.
Courtney, because
You're
Courtney,
welcome and needed.
Thank you, Mark.
Courtney, she will be.
yeah, you're in charge of that.
I should have had a moving company help me yesterday.
Did you move? Did you move?
Put away our Christmas stuff. But apparently it involved a lot of walking up and down stairs.
Just gonna feel that.
6 hours worth of putting away Christmas stuff.
A lot of stuff.
That's a lot of stuff.
Go ahead.
My stuff, I put a lot of stuff.
It's
Make
the,
it, make it.
The red.
yeah, it's what the proposed language is B under creation and structure. And it's in red. Except
That's what-
there's some grammatical changes that needs to be
Right.
made.
So this is a council change, the changes that will be made by the council.
Correct.
Yeah, I agree with it.
And my only question is it, is the auditor the only ex officio member that you would like?
That what?
Is the auditor the only ex officio, a representative from the auditor's office?
I would think so because, and then of course, if another, official wishes to come.
Are you a
testify.
What about council attorney?
Yeah, I would say,
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
I
I
don't
mean,
think I'm
I
an
think
ex
that's
officio
something-
member, I think I'm staff.
You're just staff, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
there's a
Okay.
difference between that.
All right.
Okay.
Dodged
Good
that.
say, fine with me.
Yeah.
She dodged that like a ball.
You want the treasurer as well, or just
That was
auditor?
my
I think
concern.
at this time that's necessary. I mean, obviously she's got her hands full too. But if at any time she has something that she wishes to add, I think but that's a.
well, the most important thing is the interest income, so you can see how it's trending up or down, and we'll get that to Bree, and that can be
And
part
that
of her.
report could be,
Yes,
any of the things that other offices wish to add could be done in a report to be added to.
Sounds good to me. Yeah, I'm fine with it as written.
All right. Do we,
Well, I'm gonna change it to, if it's just the auditor's office, one representative of Monroe County.
Right, you don't have to have
Auditor's
a.
office. Yeah, okay. I will grammatically make that sentence correct.
does council need to adopt that or us adopt that?
Yeah, we don't want all the auditor's office here.
Council approved.
Council approved the resolution, so I can present it on
Okay.
Tuesday to council.
Awesome. That should be easy.
We'll add it to the agenda.
Okay,
Okay.
perfect.
To the agenda for Tuesday.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Thanks, Ken.
Awesome. Good call. We're on we've done item 4. Anything else for the good of the order that anyone wants to comment or share on long-term finance? Sounds like we're off to a fairly good start, but I want to make sure I'm not just assuming that.
Well,
We should all,
is this long-term? I know you've got something on there about the edit tax or the jail tax, or whatever. I'm just thinking we need. Well, it's either a council discussion or this discussion having to do with jail expenses and whatever, and that is long-term.
That's on the council agenda for Tuesday.
I contacted
it is.
Bree and
Yeah,
said,
we just added
this has got to be on there. We've waited too long. But that is,
How much jail fine?
that's discussion what they're gonna do with the budget for
Well,
this year.
the list.
But I would think that
Just
it
the
would be a long-term discussion as well. How they're going to cover those additional expenses.
Yeah.
And what pots of money. Is that what you expect this
For long-term finance,
committee to do? Are we talking, when you use the term finance, do you mean finance as in debt, or do you mean finance, how are we gonna pay for it, out of which pot of money?
I think it could be a little of both.
Thank you.
I think council ultimately, of course, adopts that through budgets, but I think we could talk a little bit about both of that, and the issues affecting those things and what we do to
And
plan.
like the health department and all the huge influx of dollars coming into there.
Correct.
And what is our role in that? That
Correct.
council's long-term role in that,
Yes.
because that's money coming in now. But is it our role, or is it only? That, I don't mean to be stepping on anybody else's role. I
Sure.
mean, is it just the health department, or is it just the commissioners that work with the health department? Or is it long-term range goals that the council may support?
I think
Don't know,
from a finance perspective. Yeah,
because that's,
yeah, because that's what we do.
when we look at all those different pots of money,
Mhm.
then we have, so where we're moving things from one area to another area, and which areas do we really have any control or say?
Correct.
I mean, I don't know.
Right. Okay. Anything else? All right, I think we've got our mission. I want to thank everybody for all of this, a lot of work. I also want to thank the treasurer for coming in to give us that update before. I know that wasn't on our agenda, but it was, I think it's important that we did that. So again, we'll continue to support whatever effort we need to do to resolve that issue, and the council will stand ready. But for that, I'm going to go ahead and adjourn the meeting. Thank you so much.
Did we get an answer about the bank at 10?